going to begin recording this. I'm going to go ahead and record this session. Most of you, I think I've either met in person or I have met online via email or maybe at a presbytery meeting. I'm Donna Scully, and I am the administrator and assistant stated clerk for Newcastle Presbytery. I have been with the presbytery for about 15 and a half years now. So my work has progressed from being just an administrative assistant when I started. And I've had the wonderful opportunity and grace to be able to move into some various aspects and some more deeper work with stated clerk responsibilities. So a great deal of the things that I do with the presbytery have to do with statistical information, maintaining databases and things for our statistics at the presbytery, assisting churches with their statistical work, and handling a great deal of employment and compensation things that are interrelated with the Committee on Ministers and Congregations. So that being said, I am going to go back. That the participants today, it looks as though we have a number of stated clerks here with us. And I believe we have David as well from Cool Spring. Welcome, David. Shirley Seward. Shirley, if you can hear me, you're on mute, and please remind me the church that you are from.
Hi, Donna. This is Shirley. As you said, I'm from the Presbyterian Church of Easton.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. And I apologize that I did not recall that offhand.
No, that's okay. I've not been doing this very long, so.
That's wonderful. That is absolutely wonderful. We also have David Wallace from Cool Spring. Diane is in from Green Hill and also works with Rock. Jeanette is from First and Central. Vicki is from Calvary. And Pam is out at Faith Chapel down in Berlin, Maryland. So it's great to have a mix of people from some different areas. Welcome today, and thank you for attending. We will, for the agenda today, be talking about statistical reporting. We're going to start with that. We'll morph into a little bit of the OGA entities and how things work with statistics, a little bit of that. We'll go ahead and ask for some questions for consideration. And then we'll go into some clerk accession responsibilities and end with a summary. Like I indicated at the very beginning of this conversation, I want this to be open dialogue. So if you do have questions along the way, we're not a very large group. I see no sense, unless you have some background noise, I see no sense in having you muted. So if you'd like to interject or you would like to raise your hand, whatever you feel comfortable with, love to have your questions as we're moving along. We have taken care of introductions for the most part, and that we sort of took care of. So we're going to move along. So we're going to go into statistical reporting this morning, and some of the general items. And we are in that period. We have statistics coming up here. We're getting ready to input, which is the time frame every year. So who provides statistics? Who are the ones that actually input statistics? All of the churches and councils of the PCUSA are required by the Book of Order to submit their statistics and other information according to the requirements of those particular bodies. So in the instance of churches, I send out an email in December of every year, the beginning of December, when statistics open. So just for the record, we do receive that information early from the denominational office. They let us know in August, September or so that the information of what is going to be required, but the church entry system typically does not open until December the 2nd. So you'll find that a lot of times I don't even send it out till then, because there really isn't a whole lot for you. There isn't really much for you to do. You've been accumulating your information. So some of the things that the churches, the churches are responsible for their own statistics, and we are as well. We as the Presbytery of Newcastle are the governing body and responsible for the statistics coming from our churches. So you'll note that in the communications from the denominations, it will tell you to submit to the presbytery. That's been the language forever. And when they morphed into the online submission, the submissions are actually going into the office of General Assembly. We as a presbytery, however, have login to be able to take a look at how things are going. We can see what churches have submitted and haven't submitted. If it looks like there's any kind of a problem, we can reach out to you. So that is why the language says that.
I have to tell everyone that Donna is just great at this, and she's so helpful. And even if you forget that you haven't done it, she'll be the one to remind you. So thank you, Donna.
Thanks, David. Thank you, David. I try to keep all of us on track, because the reality is, we all have these deadlines. You can see here that the deadline is Thursday, February the 16th. The system will literally lock you out at the end of the day that day. And I say the end of the day, 11:59 p.m. is the end of the day. And it will lock churches out. The presbytery, however, does have not quite 2 weeks of grace that we can go in. So I've had indications many times from people indicating that they accidentally hit submit, or they found that maybe some financial data or other data that they submitted was not accurate. I can go in from the presbytery side and make changes for you. And that date is February the 28th. So if you want to put that in big red letters on your calendar, that you can get to me by the 28th of February to make any kind of changes to anything that you previously submitted. And I can help you out with that. The online submission is directly through the statistical reporting page. And I will, after this presentation, I will be sending you a copy of this PowerPoint presentation and any documents that we've discussed today.
It'd still be the same logon code, right?
Yes, that is absolutely correct. What I did, you'll note that the link that I've placed in this PowerPoint presentation is a bit.ly link. For those of you who may not be familiar with the bit.ly link, it is an online capability to shorten a link. So in many instances, when you go out online, the link is very long with all kinds of characters. And it's, other than being able to click it and go where you want to go, if you had to actually type that in, the chance of error is great. So it is a really good resource to use to be able to shorten links. And that's what I did in this instance for this PowerPoint presentation. But it is, as you said, Vicki, it's the same exact page that it always has been for statistical reporting. Okay. And what I'm going to do, let's see here. Now, can you see, are you seeing the church statistics page that I'm looking at this moment? Or are you seeing my presentation?
Your presentation.
You're seeing the presentation. I'm going to stop the share on that for just a moment. And I am going to share my screen to show you that the link that we were just talking about is going to go to the same exact page. And you'll note that I am using the Perryville page because it is one of our churches that has recently closed. And I just wanted you all to be able to see, because my page for the presbytery is very similar, but it does not give the exact same information that you all would see as a church. So that's what that looks like. It is that exact church statistics page. And we're going to get back to that page in just a moment. I'm going to stop that share and I'm going to come back into our PowerPoint presentation for just a moment. Okay. So now what's new for 2022 in statistics? The 225th General Assembly, which was last year, approved changes to the statistical reporting. So within the gender breakdown, they did in fact, they now have 3 categories: the women, men, and then non-binary genderqueer category. So your statistics, if you're able to do so, should match those breakdowns in those categories. One of the additional things that they did this year is the age distribution used to start at 18. They now start at 17 for the age distribution. It doesn't seem like a big difference, but what they're finding is that with the various kinds of programming that is available on the denominational level, being able to know that break in age, you're still hitting those that slightly younger age in high school, to be able to look at some greater expanded young adult programming things. So it's helping some of the entities within PCUSA to earmark those age groups.
Donna,
Yes.
oh, maybe I spoke too soon. I was going to talk about the youth distribution. Is that just up to high school?
No, that's fine. Go ahead. The youth
It
distribution.
says to grade rather than age. So after 12, it goes elsewhere into the adult age group, or
Where it goes, hold on just one moment. I'm going to
change
take
to
a
grade
quick.
rather than age. So,
Correct. So that,
and generally
am-
people are 17, 18 when they are in 12th grade or graduate. So
correct. So I'm going to stop the share on the presentation again momentarily, and I'm going to go back out to the statistical reporting page. And you'll note, still again, church statistics, we now are on the congregational life page. So if you'll see over here in the tasks section, we actually have 4 pages for statistics. So what you were just asking, David, is actually that particular section of the statistics is included in the congregational life page. So if we go down a little bit, and I'm somebody that gets a little motion sick, so I go a little slow sometimes when I send this down for you. So if you'll look, there's an age distribution
it's
still,
there. It's there.
right?
Yeah.
But you'll see that the youth in your congregation, this is what's new, is essentially keeps you in your grade levels, and that is intended to assist, to assist the programming efforts within the PCUSA. Okay, terrific. Okay, so let's go back out for just a moment. Go in and out. Okay. So the next category that has changed a bit is the racial ethnic definitions, and they simply expanded it to identify Latinx if that exists within your congregation. The finance questions have been expanded slightly to include some of your receivables and your expenditures. And then in association with the 3 categories, what is new is, if you will recall, in previous years, it was simply a women's members that was on the main page of the statistical information that you were submitting. They've now moved that from the main page to the congregational life page, and they updated it so that it was inclusive of women, men, and your non-binary genderqueer categories. One thing that I did want to mention while we're on this segment of the presentation, for those who may not be aware, in the racial ethnic definitions, as it relates to reporting statistics and in association with the equalization of roles. So equalization of roles was distributed in December for 2023. So Cindy Coleman, our stated clerk, prepares that, and she had that available. And many years ago, right around 2000 or so, I believe it was, PCUSA, and it's actually, it was 1990. It was 1990 that PCUSA instituted that churches who were considered racial ethnic churches or who have a ruling elder membership of 10% or more are granted one additional commissioner. So that church, give you an example, Community Presbyterian Church is our only African-American Presbyterian church within the presbytery. They have an extra commissioner because they have that designation. We have about 4 or 5 churches in the presbytery who also receive one additional commissioner based on their additional racial ethnic membership. It could be, any of the racial ethnic categories come into that consideration. Did you have any additional questions about some of the new categories that we have?
Hey, this is Karen Berry with Georgetown Presbyterian.
Yes.
So I think we have an extra commissioner, and I think it's because we probably have a pretty significant Pakistani population. So is the expectation or desire that it would be someone from that community? We're actually going to do that this year, I think.
It doesn't, as far as attending as a commissioner, are you indicating that one of those individuals should be that commissioner? Is that your question?
Yeah, that seems to me like that might be, maybe not a spoken objective, but it would be to have a better racial or diverse representation at the presbytery.
Karen,
I'm assuming.
that is absolutely accurate. That is correct. Although you are correct in that is not specified, that is not required. The church is giving extra representation as a result, but having an individual that represents that ethnic diversity certainly is an intention of participation in the life of the presbytery. Agreed. Thank you, Karen, for bringing that up and for pulling that forward for consideration for our churches.
Donna, did you say something about, maybe I misunderstood you, the number of ruling elders in your church?
Yes.
And the number, you get an extra one if there's so many ruling elders. Now, do you mean ruling elders in the sense they've been ordained and some are on the session and some are not, or you just mean those on the session?
The number of ruling elders.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Donna, I have a question.
Yes.
I'm kind of embarrassed to ask it, and I'm a little uncomfortable asking it.
Please.
But no, you'll see why. When with the gender breakdown, non-binary, gender queer,
Yes.
can you explain? Again, I'm new. Explain to me what does that mean? Are you asking us how many gay members we have, or what does that category mean?
That category, as far as I am aware, and please, anyone else, feel free to jump in.
I just attended the half of the workshop that Brian was doing, and he explained all those things.
Oh, great.
So that is not if a person's gay or lesbian.
Okay.
That is a person's non-binary. That has to do with being transgender or non-binary, being somewhere on the spectrum, not calling yourself male or female, but queer. So that's not So you can have a gay or lesbian person and not have any of those, or you can have a gay or lesbian person who calls them one or another, who consider themselves to be non-binary. Non-binary means not male, not female, somewhere along the spectrum.
Okay, I did understand non-binary. I was less sure about the term queer.
Well,
Because that
that's,
is-
you know what?
Okay.
I maybe,
Oops,
you muted
just
yourself.
mute.
Unmute yourself, David. We lost you. Oh, hold on a second. David, can you unmute
yeah,
yourself?
I'm
Okay,
saying,
and repeat that
I
sentence.
misread that. I think you're right, Jeanette. I think they are asking for gay and lesbian and non-binary queer, because that's a larger category. So gay and lesbian would be under queer. So I guess they're asking for all those.
Now, this is Karen. I've done
It-
diversity classes and gender queer. None of that has anything to do with your with being gay or lesbian. It's really just about the he, she, like
Okay.
how someone it's how they identify. It has nothing to do with their selection, whether they're gay or not. It's just about how they view themselves or their identity. So when
Okay,
you
so-
see people now saying he, she, her, or they
Yeah.
might say them, or that, like, that's what all that's about. It's just to give everyone freedom to choose how they want to be referred to, but it doesn't really
Okay.
have anything to do with your sexuality, selection process, that sort of stuff.
So it's not orientation.
It is not.
Okay,
Not, I mean, it would be unusual for me, I think, if it said
yeah, I think, thank you.
that.
Yes, thank you. I was not clear on that term. Okay, thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you very much. Thank you, David, for inputting that additional information. I think it really boils down to exactly how those individuals have identified themselves. And that may be an interesting statistic for you as you're assessing. You may feel the need to reach out to certain individuals to identify those a little more clearly. I have not seen any resources, although I'm going to make a note right now to be able to look for resources to include what I send to you with regard to maintaining your statistics and the best way to maintain your statistics to identify those three categories specifically.
Yeah, this is Karen again. This is just me speaking out loud. I'm a member of the military, and so
Of course.
so what I would say to that is I wouldn't younger folks, so Gen Z folks,
Yes.
out in communities, especially college age, it's starting to be more prevalent. It's going to be more prevalent in society. I don't think that it's likely that you have someone, if you have someone in your church that identifies as non-binary, you'll probably know. I
Know that.
don't know that I would go
Yeah.
out asking anyone, but I wouldn't want to
Okay.
make someone feel uncomfortable. I think it's something we'll grow into, so it's probably going to be a fuzzy statistic for a bunch of years, I'd say, because I don't know that we're there society wise as but I think our younger folks, as we kind of go through the years and more places become open to that, you'll know who your folks are. I probably wouldn't go out and specifically ask someone because someone would rightly be offended,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, if you ask them that. Whereas if you just kind of present it and explain what it is, maybe people would, I don't, if you thought you had some folks, and I don't know, I don't think the presbytery wants to keep track of the data that intently, that they would, when people
Okay.
are comfortable, you'll know, I think.
Okay, that's realistic and duly noted, Karen. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. The input categories and the online submission for your statistics is through the church statistics page, as we indicated. So the 4 categories are your membership stats, the congregational life stats, the racial ethnic stats, which I have status on there, I apologize. And that includes disability. So your disability figures for your mobility and disabilities are going to be on the racial ethnic page. And then the financial stats or financial data page. I'm going to morph over to that for just a moment so we can take a look together at what that page looks like. So we looked at the membership statistics. So you're going to go through on your membership statistics. And the categories are going to, your membership, your beginning membership number will be the number that was the final number from the last time that you submitted, which should have been last year. If, however, you've had a break year and you did not submit for whatever reason, that number will continue to carry as your beginning membership number. So what you're going to find is if in fact that occurred, if there was an error in your submission in some way, you can select this box, choose a different number, and the new starting membership number will populate to give you a chance to change that number. It usually is better if you go through and you actually allocate the difference in the number in your gains and your losses. But if that's something that you simply cannot identify easily, choosing a different beginning membership number is possible. You can do that there. When you go through, obviously, and you put in your gains and your losses, that will tabulate to give your final membership number. So the ending acting membership number doesn't automatically calculate. I apologize. That ending number, it doesn't automatically calculate. It does have to balance in order to save the page. So if you're finding that you're trying to hit accept and it's not accepting it, it could be that your numbers just aren't adding up for what you have there.
And Donna, I think, I'm trying to remember back to last year, I think, you can go out and can come back and update.
You
As long
can.
as you don't submit it. You can update
Correct.
the different, you can complete 1 or 2 of them and accept, but then you can come back again if you have any changes. But once you click submit, that's it.
That is correct. That is correct. So if we go back to, I'm going to check this very last page. This is your, it's your very last page. So you're going to accept each and every one of those. And once you hit accept, then there's going to be a submission page that's going to come up for you to be able to submit. Because here you've got your membership. And then the next page is going to be your congregational life. And you are correct, David. You're correct. So on the congregational life, we're going to put our totals in for each of the categories. And here we're looking at, in the life of the congregation, the baptisms. We're going to look at all of the other activity for confirmation and any of others who were presented for baptism that were not maybe part of the congregation. You're going to have an average weekly worship attendance. And that, as everyone recognizes, especially with COVID, that number has really fluctuated. And there were some real concerns about whether or not to include all of your online numbers. And the reality is you do want to include your online numbers. For those who are, whatever is your average. So you want to track that every week for your attendance. I think what we've noticed is that there has been an increase in the friends of the congregation, especially on your online presence. Several of our churches are experiencing larger quantities of individuals online who aren't members, who are friends of the congregation, but they're noticing that they have people returning every week that are coming in online. So those numbers, you're going to incorporate those numbers in as well. You've got your session, your ruling elders that are on session, the number of deacons that you may have. This, as we've talked about, is where your gender distribution comes in, and the distribution age of your members, and then the youth categories that are coming in. So that is all on your congregational life page. Were there any specific questions about the congregational life page? Okay, let's take a look at racial ethnic statistics. So here we start with the disability categories. And then this is what we talked about, and it was 1990 that they describe right here exactly about the additional commissioner that comes into play. And that one change here with a Latinx that is in here. And your racial ethnic numbers that are here for your membership are going to tie back to your first page, to your church membership. So if you have a situation where you've completed this racial ethnic page and it isn't tying accurately to your very first page, it will not accept your number. So when you go to hit accept on the first page, if your racial ethnic numbers are off and you can't figure out why it's not allowing you to submit, it could be that your racial ethnic numbers are not populating accurately. Okay. And then the last page is your financial page. So we've got your income and expense lines. We have your regular contributions, your investment income, capital and building funds, and bequests. You got your subsidy or aid, and then other income. In expenditures, you have your local program. So there's a descriptor here on the left. And as I'm saying this to you, let me go back for a second. For years and years, they published a workbook that you could complete your information in and then submit it. They now have a chart of these categories, and I'm going to send this out. It is available on your on the statistics webpage for PCUSA. So you can get that, but I will send it out to you. So all of this information that is here on the left is in fact in this document that has a chart that does give you all of the information that you can use as your own workbook, that you can put in your own figures and put this together if you choose to do so. So all of that makes it a little bit easier when you're doing your submissions.
So Donna, I usually have my finance person or treasurer do
Yes.
this page.
Yes.
And we did, so I'm a little less familiar with this,
Okay.
but I'll sit in with that person this year and help with this page because we're trying to expand so that more people understand all the different things so that when, you know, the next clerk comes in that I can kind of explain to them what they have to do because I sort of fell into it and I really didn't have any
Oh
in
my
the middle of
goodness.
COVID. So it was a whole lot of interesting stuff. So on this page, I'm not familiar, but I know we got a lot of grants this year. I'm assuming that, is there a line in there where you would put like monies that you got for grants?
The grant funds, and that's the thing that you're going to find when it comes to the financial data that they're asking you for from PCUSA. Not all the money is shown. So in other words, there are specific categories, and I'm going up here for a second. There are specific categories that they're asking you for under the receipts section, Karen. And grants does not necessarily fall in any of these categories. So, and I'm looking here real quick just to see, I don't believe that they're asking you for grant funds.
Okay, I was just curious
Okay.
because we got a significant amount for like building improvements, and so it would look like a big gap, and I would think
Right.
so.
And
I don't know whether do we just not count that up at the maybe, and that's why I said fully at first. I'm not usually the one that does this, but so maybe because some of the stuff, well, I don't know,
It looks like that third line, the monies received for capital investments and capital improvements. That, I mean, it might not be from a capital fund, but if you received a grant for it, it seems like that should be.
yeah, like we had a significant grant to do some for that. So yeah, it looks like it will probably go there.
it
I
could
guess
probably go
maybe
there.
is the main question, do all of these have to foot? Do they all have to match at the bottom? Or
They do not.
Right, I think that's what I was, okay, there you go.
They do not. And that's where when I had received the statistical information from the denominational office, Chris Valerius has been there for years and sent information and was very adamant this year when she sent it out to say that not all money will be shown. So I know that when you put in budgeted income and you put in budgeted expense, you're putting that information in, and that, like you say, Karen, that may not tie exactly to the categories that are
Right.
coming in down below. So if in fact they do not match entirely, don't be concerned because there isn't a requirement for it to tie exactly.
All right, that covers it for me, thanks.
Okay, perfect. That's perfect.
So if we got a grant from the Ignite for technology, so that wouldn't be
Right.
in there anywhere.
I mean, you could, like Karen was saying, like there's capital and building funds. So sometimes what's happening is the categories that PCUSA is looking at don't necessarily match some of the things that you're receiving funds for.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a comfort zone with putting it in because it really does not match what it is that you're using it for, like you said, the technology, could you put that in building funds?
Yeah, because that's kind of where it would go. I mean, in the sense.
Yeah, I would think so.
Right.
Equipment with anticipated.
Yeah,
useful life.
equipment. Yeah. Mhm.
Right, because the
But I was going to ask, how is this being used by PCUSA? I mean, are they totaling it up though? And if you don't put in the income, but you put in the expense, and then it looks like you're losing money because you didn't account for the income.
right.
Like how are they using it to identify churches that have a financial problem? Or in that case, I would think you would want to account for everything.
Right. They as a denomination are not. Now, I can tell you, I can validate the fact that
Oh,
the presbytery isn't necessarily looking at this and assessing these statistics for that purpose, Sandra. They're not doing that because you're going to find that, I mean, we can look at that and we can get a generalization and we can use that information, especially Committee on Ministers and Congregations. Each of your churches have a liaison from COMC that is working with you. And if they find that, that there are some questions that they have that they can maybe find some resources to assist you, this is a good place to start. But when it comes to assistance from the presbytery, if one of the churches needs assistance and needs to come to the trustees for additional funds for maybe a building issue or what have you, they're not going to rely on statistical information to do that. They're going to go to you and ask for current information and some financial things to do that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I do have another question.
Yeah.
We have our finances separated into, we have an overall corporation, but it's separated into the church and the cemetery. And the cemetery has its separate operations.
Right.
And my clerk of session from before isn't really around to ask how we have done it in the past, but do you have a recommendation on whether this should just be the church or whether it should be the overall corporation?
Or for the statistics?
For the financials, yeah.
For the financials, in the cases that we've come across, in most cases, the cemetery and the church are separate entities. And I would think that yours is as well. I think now Linda Natali has been doing a great deal of the cemetery work for years, right?
Right.
So she'd be yeah, I would check with her. My estimation based on each and every cemetery in the presbytery that I'm aware of, their cemetery boards are separate, their finances are separate.
The finances are separate. I'm not sure that I think our finance and administration committee handles both.
It could be a unicameral board without, and that could be very well true, but I do believe that the finances are generally separate for the cemetery association and the church.
Okay.
Yeah, this took me a couple years to understand in Cool Spring because we have a cemetery, a historic cemetery plus that still has plots open for purchase.
Wow.
And I didn't understand till I started doing research that we are two different incorporations. There's one incorporated for the cemetery and then there's incorporation for the church. And our cemetery budget is different. Although the administration of the cemetery and thing really comes up to be the session, because the role of the trustees of the cemetery kind of gives to the session to make the decisions. Even though Delaware asked for who are the officers for the corporation, so it gets into a little bit of different,
Yeah, I'm sure Linda Natali and John Danzeisen know what's going on, so I'll just try to get up to speed with them.
I would say that's a good place to start, Sandra, and I'm sure they'll have the answers, but I am almost 100% confident that they are two separate sets of financials.
I know they're two separate sets of financials, and you just want the church in here.
Correct, just the church. Correct, just the church. Wonderful. Okay.
You might want to put the Ignite grants under the subsidy or aid, because that's monies from churches or presbytery. So that might be where Ignite grants go.
That could
yeah, that's right.
There you go.
Good.
There you go. And in a lot of cases, the numbers probably will match by doing that, by placing that in the subsidy or aid.
And then, this seems to be more complicated than I thought it was. So this year I'm going to print that out and work with the treasurer on all the accounts and stuff and filling this out.
I think that's a great idea.
It's my treasurer too. I'm like, I don't have this number. It's good.
And I have to tell you, I do the same thing because the presbytery has, we do our financials as well. We have presbytery reporting. We don't have membership like you do, but we have the life of the presbytery things that have to do with financials, that have to do with data for when we have presbytery meetings and who our trustees are and those kinds of things. So our information is a little different, but we do have submission as well. So, Okay, are there any other questions about the financial statistical page?
Donna, this is Shirley. I may reach out to you offline about the reporting of any preschool finances.
Okay,
Okay, thank
that's
you.
terrific. That's terrific. And we can talk more about that. And there is a category for some of that other income, which is right here in the other income section.
Okay,
But
great, thank you.
We can talk more, absolutely. All right, I'm going to stop the share on this page for just a moment. We'll go back to our presentation. Okay. Back in May of 2022, our stated clerk, Cindy Coleman, sent out a per capita note. And in that note, you can see right here what it says. Blessed be the tie that binds our hearts in Christian love. The fellowship of kindred minds is like to that above. And she states that it might not be the first thing that comes to your mind when you think about per capita, but for her, it's top. It's at the top. She said it's a tie that binds us together in mutual support for mission and administration, and in the vision that together we can accomplish more in Christ's name than we can individually. I think that the per capita numbers, obviously, that you are submitting, or that the statistical numbers that you are submitting every year, are what provide the numbers for your per capita. So as most of you have done this for years, but I will just reiterate for those who may not know, or for those who may view this later, it feels like your statistical numbers are 2 years in arrears. It feels like your membership number that's being used. So in the invoicing, which by the way, will be published and will be sent via email to treasurers within the next couple of weeks. We are a couple weeks behind, as many of you probably are aware. We lost our treasurer. He did pass unexpectedly in October. So it was a great loss to the presbytery. He had worked for us not quite 2 years and had made some incredible updates for us because of his financial background. And he really worked directly with trustees and with the staff, and we were blessed to have him. So I just want to let everybody know how much we really appreciated him. We do have a new treasurer on board. It is Anthony Condalucci Smith. Some people in the presbytery may know him because he's been around for a while. He was actually an administrator at Limestone back in about 2011, and was an administrator at Trinity for about 5 years, back about 2013 or so, for up till about 2017. So he served in that capacity, expanded his education, his reach, and now has a master's in accounting. So he is our treasurer now. He just started at the beginning of January. So he's kind of making headway and should be getting the invoicing out. That being said, the 2023 invoicing is based off of the 2021 statistics. So if you think about it, physically, numerically, it's 2 years in arrears, right? But the reality is the 2021 statistics are submitted in 2022. So, and that's just the way it is every year. So that is probably one of the biggest reasons why you should keep up on your statistics and make sure that it's accurate, because we do get calls saying, but this year we're down 20 members. We have to pay for 2 years ago. So it's just really, really important to try to stay up as much as you can. I know probably one of the very hardest things to do for churches is to clean the rolls. It's hard. You really don't want to take someone off your rolls. And we understand. But sometimes it's really important to go back, take a look at your rolls, clean your rolls, because it is going to make an impact on your per capita. Okay. I wanted to talk a little bit about OGA and statistics. One of the things is statistics do appear in the General Assembly minutes books. There's a specific book, part 2, and it's statistics. So that particular book has every church in the denomination. It has all of your statistical information printed in it. It is a document that is retained not only at the General Assembly level, but also the Presbyterian Historical Society maintains that information. And individuals do go back and take a look at some of that information for various reasons. The data is utilized by a number of entities for programming, as we discussed before, so they can expand the resources that are available for various things, and also to provide trends to facilitate those trends. So if you are or are not aware, I wanted to make sure you are aware, there are 2 sites that are available through PCUSA. And one is called Church Trends. Has anybody gone to Church Trends before and actually looked at that webpage?
No.
Okay, I'm going to take a moment and we're going to go ahead over to that page. Just a moment here. I'm going to go over to the church. I apologize. Hold on just a second. Let me see what happened to our Church Trends webpage. It is there. Sometimes technology just doesn't want to do what you want it to do. Isn't that true?
That's for sure.
Like, I do have that page open. Let's see here. Let's try this. Are you seeing help for congregations?
Yes.
Okay, so you're seeing that page. So we're going to look at this page first, since I was able to get to this one a little bit easier. This particular page, you can actually get to both of the pages that I want to get to from this page, technically. So the Church Trends webpage, if we go to that, you'll see that all of the data that y'all have put in for statistics, they're using that to populate this Church Trends webpage. So you can actually look by church name, by size, by state. You can look at the presbyteries or the synods and get that information. They have a specific one for racial, ethnic, and for ministers. So if I go into churches by name, and I am actually looking for a church within our presbytery. So let's look at, let's take a look at, does anybody on the panel here or on the call here want to look at your own?
Yeah,
Sure.
look at, or lower.
Right. All right. So as you can see, we type in Lower Brandywine. Lower Brandywine comes right up, and we're going to submit. And you're going to see that based on the statistics, and this is for public record, you can see that this is what is there. Now, bear in mind that your submitted statistics, because the deadline is February 16th, when you submit, and they are finalized, even though, you know, we have a couple weeks with the presbytery, you have till the 28th to get to me if you have any changes. But when that book closes, that's the information that's going in the historical record. Can't change it. It's done. That's what per capita is on. The Church Trends webpage, however, is a little different in that if you see something on this page that is inaccurate, you can actually email the Church Trends and the research is actually the research section of PCUSA, and they will change the information that's online for you, so that if people are going in and they're looking, you can actually change that. It will not change your historical data, but it can change the Church Trends page, and you can actually go back 4 years. You can look at the overview.
And you said it closes on February 5th?
It closes on February 16th.
16th, okay.
16th. So that's the date at 11:59 that the program will close for the churches to enter data. If you find, Sandra, that there's a change that you need to make for whatever reason, I have until the 28th that you can get a hold of me by email or by phone, and I can go in and make some changes for you if necessary.
I'll try not to do that to you.
Not a problem. Not a problem. So this is available for you to take a look at. It's an interesting kind of thing, you know, to kind of see if there are churches by membership, and you can see by size. So, and this is across the nation. So you could actually go in and look at some comparative information for some other churches that are your size. You can communicate with those churches and maybe talk about their programming and what they have and some of the things. So it does provide you with a tool to be able to correspond with other churches or take a look at trends that are happening denominationally in this church trends page. So it's really beneficial for lots of different reasons. So, and like I say, a lot of people don't realize that it's out there.
Yeah.
So if I go back to, let's see here, stop the share for a minute, and we'll go into this again. And now it doesn't want to give me the help for congregations page. I apologize. I wanted to get back to the help for congregations web page so that we could take a look at some of the categories that are there. And of course, it doesn't want to. There we go. I apologize. There we go. There are a number of things that are on this help for congregations webpage, not just the church trends that we just looked at, but there's a demographic report section that is here. And that section, as many of you are aware or may be aware, I actually sent an email out to everyone with regard to a company called Mission Insight. Mission Insight is a demographic study company. The Presbytery, as coordinated by Committee on Ministers and Congregations, does subscribe to Mission Insight. So as a church within the Presbytery, you don't have to pay for their services because there is a service fee to utilize their services. We pay that. And then you are able to have your own login ID PIN to be able to do demographic studies in your community. And you're able to actually draw boundaries. You can actually draw areas. There's all kinds of demographic information that is out there for you to see what your community looks like so that you can target your marketing, target your community endeavors to be able to expand your opportunities. But that's not the only resource that you have out there, obviously. PCUSA has this website as well. So you can use that, as you can see here, learn about the people who live in the community around your church. It can help you identify mission and outreach possibilities. So that resource is on this Help for Congregations webpage. They also have these congregational surveys. So there's an opportunity for you to create a survey through this website that you can then use with your congregation to answer some questions in order to work with your strategic planning. So that's another resource that they have. There are strategy right here. There are strategy resources that you can utilize from PCUSA. And this is a PDF that enables you to have tools that are available through the research services. So again, just another opportunity for you to be able to reach in. And then the last resource that they have is just a data resource, which provides different kinds of religious membership numbers that are available from all different types of denominations here in our area
From
that you may not be
2010?
aware of.
2010 is sort of,
Yeah, that's a bit dated, right? And I think that's what tends to happen with some of this, some of this data. But in any event, this resource is available to you to be able to use. Wasn't sure if you were aware of it, so.
Before.
Okay. We're going to go back.
is it likely that Mission Insight is probably more up to date than 2010?
I would say that it's very possible that they are more up to date. There is, hold on one second here. Sorry about that. Let's go ahead to the slideshow and. Okay. I agree with you, Sandra. I believe that Mission Insight could be more informative. What I have found, though, is that each church is, like I say, is going to have their own ID that they're going to go in on. And there is some onus on the church to be able to ensure that your information is accurate. So if churches haven't gone in and actually looked and ensured that their information, it's, what's that old adage, garbage in, garbage out, right?
Right.
Yeah, for lack of a better term, right? Okay, so at this particular point, I mean, we have 25 minutes left in the session in essence. We could take a break, but I think we're almost close to the end. Did you all want to just continue and talk a little bit about the clerk of session responsibilities? And were there any questions at this moment for what we've done as far as statistics are concerned?
I have a question. I actually have lots of them. I have seen a printed form
Yes.
of the statistical report, and I have one from last year. I don't know how to create that form. Is there an easy way to do it?
There is an easy way to do it.
Oh, good.
So
Yes.
let's come off of here and go back into.
This is what happens when everybody assumes that you know what you're doing, but I'm finding it's not that easy.
I
No.
get that. I get that.
And this is my first year having to do all of this.
I didn't know
Oh,
how
my
to do
goodness.
that my first year either until Donna showed me.
Thank you. There
Oh,
you go.
good.
It's it does get challenging. It does get challenging.
Okay, so this is on the
This is on your login. So when
Yes,
you
yes.
physically go into your own login, this is
Yes.
what it's going to look like, right?
right,
So you
right.
have your church information.
Mhm.
You're going to want to make sure you go in. So I'm glad you made me go back here, Jeanette, because you're going to want to go on that clerk tab, because you in your login have the capability to go to that tab and update that information with your information so that that is accurate. And
Yes.
then in your statistical questions for the printing, okay, church address. I'm just looking for, okay.
There was a PDF.
I think it's in the home.
There's-
Yeah, home.
There's a PDF button. You're entirely
Yes,
correct.
yes.
So
Where?
you will see, you'll have a reports part in this task section that you'll be able to go to reports and you'll be able to print out, and I apologize, this, I'm actually in my own Presbytery portal for reports. But
Okay.
when if you want to, there's a couple of things you're going to be able to do. You're going to be able to print a copy of your report. So when you're on your main screen, and this is a document, this particular information is available when you go to the PCUSA statistics webpage, right? There, it's a main page and it talks about statistics, and it's gonna be a facts. There's an FAQ section that's in there. It's on that page. And there are categories of how do I print my report? And it'll give you a step-by-step of when you're on the church tab, so if I go back to this church tab here, and I go back into Perryville where I was, there's the church report right there, the PDF, because I'm actually in statistics.
Yeah, where's the
Yeah,
PDF
so
part?
that's going to be your current, the current
Oh, I see
submission,
it.
right?
Okay.
That's going
Yes.
to be your current submission. However, you're going to have the capability in that task section to be able to go back several years to be able to print what it is, maybe a previous report that you have. If you have a problem with any of that, don't hesitate to reach out to me. And I'll be able, because in your tasks over here on the right-hand side where it says tasks, you'll see church report, you'll see church download report, and then log out. So your church download report should give you the capability to get several years worth of statistical reports. Okay.
Okay.
And actually-
Can you print a partial report? Say, I've already gone to the church section, I've already gone to the clerk section, section, and I've done, well, I haven't started to enter the statistics that I know because I don't know all of them. I don't know the financial information yet.
Sure.
I noticed that there is an accept button as opposed to the submit, which I guess kind of locks it in. But
Correct.
if I've accepted portions of the report, can I print that?
You can, it isn't finalized to download the PDF until you hit submit,
Okay.
but you can do a print screen. You can do a print
Okay.
screen on that. The
Got it.
other option, are any of you familiar with your little snipping tool that you have on your computer? I
No.
love that.
Yeah.
snip.
Okay. Yes.
I
do
use that a
too.
lot. Yeah. And sometimes what you may want to do is decrease the size of your screen, because sometimes it's beyond your screen. So if it's not
Yeah,
too
you can
long,
only
you can
snip what's there.
correct. So sometimes you can just reduce the size of your screen, just use your control and the wheel on your mouse. If you click on your screen and then depress control and turn the wheel, you can do it right now. You can see that you can make your screen smaller. So by doing that, more of the data that's contained in that screen will then be available on the screen itself. And then when you snip, you can snip that information and then literally print right from the snipping tool. And you can go to your Windows, if you're using a PC and you're using the Windows platform, the little
there's a way
Windows
to do that.
icon, the 4 blocks. If you
Yeah.
go there, you can usually easily find the snipping tool or put it in the search, just type snipping and you'll be able to find your snipping tool.
I keep mine locked on my taskbar.
I do too. You're entirely right. It's so incredibly convenient
Yes.
to be able to use that.
Okay.
One thing that I did want to mention before we come out of statistics as well, you can, when you go into your screen, you can actually, and I'm trying to, you can edit your mailing. You can edit your physical address. And there is a capability, and I'm not seeing it on this one at this particular moment. There is a capability for you to change your password. So as a presbytery, I can go in every year and I can download everyone's passwords in case you lose it. And I give that to you. The denominational office will not give that to you. So I can provide that to you. But if you are able to change that. Are there any other questions about statistics? If not, we're going to just morph in real quick to the clerk of session responsibilities. Okay. For those of you I don't know how many of you have actually participated in The clerk of session training, the training opportunities that we have the third Thursdays of the month. Our stated clerk, Cindy Coleman, actually has different topics, and they are recorded. And there are many times materials that are associated with them. And one of them was a clerk of session training that had to do with actually preparing your minutes. It was solely to do with preparing your minutes. And it is available online with the handout. So when I send the email to everyone, I'll make sure that that link is in your email and is easily accessible for you to take a look at any of the videos regarding training. Right now, at least for the last 3 months, November, December, and January, were earmarked solely for the GA amendments because there are so many of them. And of course, we have, as many of you know, we have a special called meeting on February the 7th at 6:30 p.m. because we are going to have to vote on those amendments to send our vote into the denomination. So that is occurring as well. But we have that available for you. And the other thing that I will send out for you, it is a little dated. It's April of 2016, and it's from a fellow presbytery. It's a survival guide. It's a manual for clerk of session. And I just thought it was really kind of cute. It's still available online, but I'm going to give you that link as well, or give you that document as well, because there are some tips in there that I think are helpful for clerks of session. And what I was sharing with the clerk of session were responsibilities, were some basics here on this chart, you know, for preparing of session minutes, you know, the preservation of the minutes. It records the important events in the life of your church. You know, you're assuring that the book of order requirements are met, and you're reporting session activity to church members so that transparency in the life of the church is paramount. You're maintaining your rolls and your records, and ensuring that the preservation of the records of the Board of Deacons and the Board of Trustees, the rolls and registers and minutes are all being properly maintained. You know, that's the basic duties of the clerk. You're in the reporting section of the position. You're notifying your session or congregation of any kind of special meetings that you're having. You're completing and you're submitting your annual statistic report, which is reported to session and is in your session minutes. That should be in there to make sure that you know that they know that you've submitted them, and at least let them know that they've been submitted.
Does the session have to approve this annual statistical report?
The session should, that's a very good question.
I'm under the gun because we meet on Monday night and I have been told, yes, they do have to approve.
I
No,
think
they
they
do
do.
not.
I don't know. I know.
I
we've been
thought they
approving
did
it.
have to have the session approve it, but I mean, this is maybe cheating a little bit, but I actually last year had the session approve it after I had already submitted it. I mean,
Yes.
you know, I didn't know
Yeah.
that I had to submit it.
Or is
Yeah.
it like acknowledging that they've reviewed it?
Right.
Well, that's
right.
That's different. To say that the session received the annual statistical report or the session approved it. It's two different things. And I don't know. I don't know the answer.
And that, I believe you're absolutely correct.
Which way?
I believe you're,
Right.
no, I believe you're correct. I believe that the session is supposed to approve the
Approve.
submission. However, I will have an email out to you before Monday to let you know, and I'll try to do it this afternoon with a confirmation on that, Jeanette, because I believe that it isn't necessarily, I believe it's an approval of the submission of the statistical report, and I believe it's an approval provided to the clerk to perform that on behalf of the session. I believe it's more of a of an approval of an acknowledgement of that the clerk is going to be have that responsibility and is going to handle that on behalf of the session. I believe that that's what it is. I don't believe that
Golly,
it
that's
is
fine.
that you've got to hand them the report and they're looking it over and analyzing everything with you. Your duties are to your duties are to compilate the information and submit the information on behalf of the session. So
Right,
I do
okay.
believe it's more of an approval in your minutes of an acknowledgement, in essence, that the clerk is handling that on behalf of the church and will be submitting by the deadline. It's more of an approval for that, not of the actual data in the report, but I'll confirm that to you.
That's
Okay, yeah,
part of
if you
yeah.
can send me the language that
Yes.
should,
Me too. I'm having a meeting on Monday
the way
night, too.
it should be written, that would be very helpful.
I will
Um,
do that.
Because, thank you,
So it's an approval in advance of submitting the report, not an approval of what was submitted.
Correct. That is my understanding, but I
Strange.
will confirm that because the actual copy of the submission tends to be in your minutes. So yeah. I will
So
do that
do
for
we
you. I will make sure I have that out to you right away. Okay.
Okay, do we need to include a copy of the form, this form that I can print? Does that need to be included in the minutes, or simply an acknowledgement that this report has been submitted?
I just
An
do an
acknowledgement
acknowledgement.
is sufficient. The actual report, sometimes it's helpful. So it really just depends on what it is that your church session feels is most beneficial for your church to have in your minutes. It's
Yeah, we've had issues for the last 2 years, and I can't find any notes in the session minutes from the last 2 years about the annual report. I know there was a problem in 2020, and we were able to make some changes. There was an accurate report submitted in 2020 or submitted for 2021. And so I'm not sure how to, someone asked me, and a session member asked me, don't we have to approve it?
okay.
So that's,
This is Karen. When
Yes.
I did my approval minutes with Cindy last summer in person, I don't recall anything like that being on like the checklist. So I'm inclined to say that it must not be one of those hard, fast rules. So what I have done, because I was really in a spot where I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing, and I don't even know
I feel.
what I don't like. I'm sure you're feeling the same way I did. I was like, I don't even know what I don't know. And so
Right.
these things,
Yes.
links, Donna, that you're going to provide, I think are great help, and it'll help me where I'm trying to leave something where someone has a place to go to kind of like even understand what you're supposed to, what some things you're looking for. So I don't remember us looking in the minutes for anything like that. That being
Okay.
said, I usually have like the finance person or the treasurer help me do portions of it. So in essence,
Yes.
they're involved in it. I have the worship committee person give me, that's who I'm getting the information for the others. So it's sort of inherently built in that the folks that are session members with you, you're getting the information, or at least I do, like Christian education is
Yeah.
providing information for me. So everyone's kind of a part of it. And then, but like this year, we really are trying to like manage our roles a little bit better, especially
Mhm.
after COVID. And I have a significant decrease this year because I've already started to do mine, and I'll have to go back in and look at it. But so I'm going to bring it to the session to kind of say, hey, my membership person's going to be involved in helping. So I just think that I didn't actually get approval or whatever. Everyone gets enlisted and has to help do it. So
Right.
they are aware of it, and then I'll have it for our next session meeting.
That's
Okay.
great
That's helpful.
information,
Thank
Karen.
you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's great information, but I will clarify that for you, because I don't, like Karen indicated, I don't see anything within the checklist of the minutes that indicate that the annual statistics need to be in there.
Okay.
You're
But I-
correct about that. You're correct about that.
I have a question about the what does need to be included in that the review of minutes, because
yes,
so here in January, we're doing our review of December year-end stats. And then we have our congregational meeting. So should those be in the 2022 book, or should those be in the 2023 book?
the congregational meeting, if it takes,
And the session meeting that covers all the December stuff.
correct,
It's in January, it needs to be in 23.
correct. It's going to go, it is a year-to-date, January to December. That is correct.
So the meeting held in January 23 is going to be in the 2023 book.
Correct.
Thank you.
That is
Mhm.
correct. And I do have the records review sheet, and I'm happy to send that out with the materials as well, just so that you have that in advance. We have not formulated a new review sheet for 2023. It tends not to change dramatically in any way. So the basics that are on here, there may be one or two additional things that may be added to it, but for the most part, it will stay the same. So I'll make sure that I send that to you as well in the documentation. Terrific. All right. So the only other things is, the meetings of the congregation. You may be requested to respond to some parliamentary questions during that. And then the last thing is notification, is to notify the stated clerk of the presbytery of any changes in your session membership. And we did have a special request that came through recently at a presbytery meeting of a desire from one of our churches to allow a session member to continue on session for a third term, because they simply could not get anyone to fill that void. And presbytery approved that. And that's a case on a case-by-case basis. And it did go to the floor of presbytery in September, I believe it was, and it was approved. So that does happen from time to time. Yes, Sandra.
And I saw there's a necrology report that was a new one to me.
Right, the necrology report is something that is typically presented during the worship service at the first presbytery meeting of the year.
And is
Since our
that only ruling
only
elders?
ruling elders, correct. Only
Yes.
ruling elders, and it is simply their name and their date of death. And I do prepare a necrology report for ruling elders, and then we have minister members as well that we include in that report. They are acknowledged during the worship service at the first meeting, which will be in May, because we're doing leadership stuff in January and March this year. So the first official meeting will be May. And then the only other thing is the congregation in consultation with the moderator, highlights of the session actions. So you just have to do those notifications. In summary, the Book of Order indicates each council shall elect a clerk, who shall be a ruling elder elected by the session for such term as it may determine. So it's in your bylaws. It's in the church's bylaws, as to the term of the clerk. We have clerks that have been clerks forever. And we appreciate all of your service. Be so
That's
greatly.
very helpful, Donna. I thought it was every year the session had to elect the clerk, but I
That's what I
think you're
thought.
right. I think I'd go into the bylaws, see what that says. Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly right. Go to your bylaws to check that out. And we're always here for you. You know, the Presbytery is always here for you. Assistance in any way. You can email us, you can call us. Just as an FYI, you know, we moved to a new phone system. So even though I have a cell phone that I've used for years that some of you have called me on, the phone from the Presbytery office, because we're now virtual, goes to our cell phones. So when you hit 0, it dials right through to my cell phone. So I don't really miss anything. You may go to voicemail, but I can see it on my cell phone no matter where I am that you've called. So
I don't need 2 phone numbers for you anymore, Donna.
don't. I mean, you can always use it. I don't mind at all when you're used to it. If you have it in your directory, I don't mind. So, but it's a pleasure to be able to say that I serve with all of you. I serve on a different governing body level, but we're all the same. We're all in ministry together. So I just want to say thank you. If you have any questions, don't hesitate.
Thank you, Donna.
And I'll be in touch
you.
soon.
Thank you
Yes.
so much. Thank
Wonderful.
you.
It was an absolute
Thanks, Donna.
pleasure working with you all today. I hope you have a wonderful Saturday afternoon. And we're gonna leave the room so that we can go back. You can leave the room. I don't believe there are any additional announcements, but we can find out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Aye.
Hey Cindy, before I jump off, it's Karen Berry from Georgetown Presbyterian. Thanks for doing this. It was a great session with Donna Scully, and she's going to give us lots of links to some of the stuff that you're doing that I haven't always been able to attend. Video series that gives me a good place to go watch. So when I don't know